Hello, I'm Gabrielle Vito, and I'm going to be talking about how mononucleosis and COVID-19 have similar symptoms. Imagine working out or playing a sport with a bunch of people where you're pushing yourself to be better and to build up your endurance, but can't seem to when your body starts to react in a sort of way, such as when you start to feel tired very quickly, have your breathing sometimes not be able to go in properly or come out properly, where it starts to feel like breathing through a straw and you start to heat up. This is where this is where it happens to me every time when I play my sport, which causes inflammation in my body to not have me perform the way I want to because of the limitations which I have to deal with, which has been for the past 9 years. Where it's called MIS, that is short for multi-inflammatory syndrome, that is founded in mononucleosis and COVID-19 as well. And with me getting COVID this year, that has brought me back to square one to recovery. According to Health Day News for Could the COVID virus be driving long-haul COVID on everything? On June 30th, 2021, it states how the doctors taken a closer look at 30 of the long-haul COVID patients that the researchers had found out that 20 of them carried levels of EBV antibodies high enough to suggest Epstein-Barr reactivation. Epstein-Barr virus is the long haul of mono that becomes long-term. Today, we are going to talk about what is mono and COVID-19. We will be discussing what mono and COVID are, their effects, and their treatments. First, let's talk about what mono and COVID are. In 2021, WebMD, which is the most popular credible source to look into health information in the U.S., stated that mono is an infectious illness that's usually caused by the Epstein-Barr virus. That's usually stand for EBV. It's also called mono or the kissing disease, where COVID-19 doesn't have the Epstein-Barr virus, but you can still get sick from its similar traits of the symptoms. What does kissing have to do with mono? It's rephrasing that if you share your saliva with other people, for example, drinks and other refreshments, you can get it. How can mono and COVID have very similar symptoms when they're not even the same disease? They're more similar than you think because they both share the same inflammatory syndrome that damages the body. From the same article mentioned that most people are exposed to mono at the same point in their lives. In the U.S., about 80% to 90% of adults carry mono with them until they're in their 40s. Also from Mayo Clinic News Network, they said that COVID virus can spread with a person or exposed to small droplets of arousals that stay in their airway or their symptoms for several minutes or hours, which is also called airborne transmission. Normally for people that would get mono, it would mostly flow out of the symptoms system within the first couple of weeks to feel better. Where for me, it didn't, which led to EBV becoming long-term, where there's a rare percent of people that end up living with it forever and not being able to recover from it at all. It took me so long to start from square one and only to reach 60% to later move back to square one after getting COVID again. As for COVID-19 being in contact with someone, let alone if they are living with you in your household, it's difficult. Including when you're trying to follow all the guidelines to stay safe, it's still very difficult to get away from. It was hard for me to dodge because my mom brought it home one day and it later on caught on to everyone else that was living in our household. With all the information that I've told you about what mono and COVID have done to me, I haven't even got to a chance to mention inflammation that is the main cause of both of these diseases. According to Healthline article of Understanding and Managing Chronic Inflammation, on August 2021, inflammation refers to your body's process of fighting against things that harm it, like infections, injuries, and toxins, in an attempt to heal itself. That's where the chronic stress of being put on your body creates more and more inflammation. This is what happens to me whenever I'm stressed out, whether it comes from school or playing my sport, which is basketball. Now that we've explored mononucleosis and COVID, let's discuss its effects. There are some effects where it can damage the body permanently, where it has happened to me physically, that leads to long-term of these viruses. Mono and COVID have similar distinctions that have to do with causing the body to not function as it used to after being damaged, which has happened physically. In the Healthline article, back when I talked about the effects, it mentioned that it causes on the physical body where it causes fatigue, anxiety, and leads to stress onto the body to tense up and persist infections that lead to you getting sick a lot, which is what happens to me when there is never a chance where I'm never sick. There's never a time when my immune system is never weak where I'm not able to get back possibly to what I was back when I was younger, when I didn't have mono and COVID-19. The part that mono and COVID can create the most problems for is how your physical body may never be the same. If you take a look at the video that I will show in my final presentation, it's going to talk about what mono and COVID have similar effects to, but mostly on children at a young age. I'm going to be asking these questions in my video after it on my speech about what you just watched. I'm going to be saying, did you see that this is life-threatening? This happened to me when I was a kid, but with mono. COVID is the same thing, but when it comes to inflammation, it is worse when you get it as a kid. Hopefully when they try to figure out a way to fix the inflammation that is happening in COVID, they can do the same thing for mono, as well as they won't have to deal with the long-term effects of having the damage of their bodies ever again. Now that we've discussed its effects, let's explore the treatments of both of these diseases. When you get COVID or mono in your systems, you tend to want to get rid of it as fast as you can. Let's talk about some of those treatments. The Nationwide Children website in 2021 says that mono symptoms usually go away on their own after a few weeks. But the best treatment is to get plenty of rest, drink a lot of liquids, and to eat healthy. It was a big change for me to try to get healthy again, especially from having mono, but it was just not in my odds to heal completely back from it, from all those long-term effects. According to Harvard Health, published from Harvard Medical School on January 31st, 2022, letting us know about having symptoms while you don't need to stay in bed, you should get plenty of rest, stay well hydrated to reduce your fever and to ease aches and pains, take ibuprofen and other suggestions that they suggest to do, and to follow the instructions. Also, of course, take the vaccine shot so you don't get as sick as much. It sucks for me though, because when I took the booster shot, I still got COVID a few weeks later after it. Now to conclude everything, today we talked about mononucleosis and COVID-19. We talked about what mono and COVID are, their effects, and their treatments. For mono, that 1 out of 10 people can have long-term as well with COVID. To tie back to the story of how it affected me for most of my life and may never ever recover from it, I hope that you can understand from when you see someone who has this sort of asthma or trouble breathing kind of problem, you know, now with this knowledge, you understand what they have to go through to keep up with everyone else, especially when they can't be able to play the sport that they want to and to play their full potential just as me. Thank you.